What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Monday, July 15th, 2024, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 14:33 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Europe, Asia, and from here in the United States. So I want to update you guys on the situation with the Trump attempted assassination. So today, Trump is going to announce his vice president pick at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're now hearing that the Secret Service is blaming local police in Butler, Pennsylvania for failing to secure the rooftop from which Thomas Michael Crooks fired from, saying that it was outside of the perimeter the federal agency was tasked with protecting. And the New York Times reported that the Secret Service spokesman Anthony Guglielmi said the building from where Thomas Michael Crooks fired at Trump from was outside of the designated perimeter of the rally and therefore was secured by local law enforcement, not Secret Service agents. So just as I suspected, that building that the shooter was firing from was not within the farm show grounds that Trump rented out for his rally, and so therefore the Secret Service agents did not secure it. And you know, there's a lot of legal aspects related to that because it's a private business, and they would have to basically go into this private business and take control of it while Trump had his rally. So I think that's probably why they refused to secure it themselves and told local law enforcement to do it. And we currently have U.S. nuclear forces on high alert. We currently have 2 Boeing E-6B nuclear war command and control planes up in the air. These planes are responsible for remotely launching all of our Minuteman III ICBMs, and they can also communicate with our submerged nuclear-armed submarines. We have one flying over Eugene, Oregon. We have another one over Oklahoma right now, and we also have a B-52 nuclear bomber flying over Louisiana. We've been seeing a lot of these nuclear bombers, B-52s, flying over the U.S. the last few weeks, basically like 2 or 3 every single day, which I haven't seen that before. Usually you'll see them maybe once a week, but we've been seeing them several times a day, and that tells me that our nuclear forces are preparing for some kind of an escalation either in the Middle East between Israel and Hezbollah or in Europe. And speaking of Europe, we currently have a U.S. reconnaissance drone, Forte 11, patrolling Poland's border with Russia here in northern Poland. This is an RQ-4 Global Hawk. Normally they fly these things in the Black Sea to keep an eye on Crimea, but they haven't been flying them over the Black Sea because Russia threatened to start shooting them down. So now they're flying them over Poland. So this is right now, this afternoon, July the 15th, we have a U.S. RQ-4 Global Hawk patrolling northern Poland. This is extremely concerning and extremely unusual. We know that Chinese forces have been deployed to Belarus, and they've been doing training with Belarusian troops literally just 2 miles from the Polish border. And Putin has put his tactical nuclear missiles on full combat alert along the entire border with NATO and Ukraine. So something's brewing over here, guys. We have to monitor this. And U.S. Homeland Security Secretary said the attempted assassination of Donald Trump was a failure of the security services. When I say something like this shouldn't happen, we're talking about a failure of the security services. We will conduct an independent investigation and find out how and why it happened and make recommendations and conclusions to make sure it doesn't happen again. Alejandro Mayorkas, head of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, told CNN. And according to FBI officials, the suspected shooter was rejected from a high school rifle club, according to 2 former team members. Apparently, he was asked not to come back because he was such a bad shot that he was considered dangerous, said one of the team members. So I guess maybe he had poor gun safety. So very interesting. I guess he was just really bad at handling firearms. And the parents of Thomas Crooks are both behavioral counselors licensed within the state of Pennsylvania. So that's very interesting that his parents are both licensed counselors. Okay, that is very strange. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a discount on their 1-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. This is a 1-month freeze-dried food supply. It has a 25-year shelf life. Normal price is $237. They've dropped it down to $177. So that's a savings of $60. And it's all packed within 2 rugged, water-resistant buckets. Free shipping is included. $177 for 1 month of food. Where are you going to find a deal like that? They also have a general store, and they're always running discounts in their general store on various prepping and survival items. They have everything from MREs, potassium iodide, to survival seeds. And to get to their general store, you got to click on the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com. And you'll see when you get there, they have everything you can imagine. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $60 off the My Patriot Supply 1-month emergency food supply. That's $180 for 1 month of food, free shipping included. The link is in the description below this video. And also check out their general store. They have everything you can imagine prepping and survival related, and they're always running various discounts there. And the Wall Street Journal reported that House Republicans were furious and upset during a security briefing earlier today without any sense of the specific security flaw to blame for yesterday's assassination attempt. And a cell phone belonging to Thomas Matthew Crooks is being transported by the FBI to Quantico, Virginia for analysis, along with his AR-style rifle. And the FBI says it found no manifesto from Thomas Matthew Crooks. Strange again. And the FBI says it is investigating the assassination attempt against Trump as a potential act of domestic terrorism. And an FBI agent in charge of the Pittsburgh field office for the FBI says investigators had no indication of any mental health issues with Thomas Matthew Crooks. Another weird thing. So clean background, no run-ins with law enforcement. He was not on the radar of the FBI previously. His parents are both licensed counselors. I mean, there's just a lot of weird things about this. The fact that people literally saw him on the roof of this building and they were shouting at law enforcement that there was a guy on the roof with a rifle and cops didn't do anything about it. And the fact that the one Secret Service agent that was on the roof of the barn right behind Trump, and you could clearly see him looking through his scope towards the direction of Thomas Crooks, and he didn't do anything. He basically waited for Thomas Crooks to shoot first, and then he shot Thomas Crooks after. I just find it hard to believe that the Secret Service, with their, very expensive, top-notch binoculars and optics, that they were unable to spot this guy, this kid, laying on a roof, okay, literally 130 yards away from Trump. Either they're really poorly trained, they don't care, they're lazy, they're incompetent, I don't know what it is, or it was just allowed to happen. Now, if you watched my update yesterday, I showed you guys the one Illuminati card from the Illuminati card game from 1995 that showed a picture of Donald Trump, and underneath it, it said, "Our snipers can take you out anywhere. Have a nice day." So I think that the Illuminati may have been planning this against Trump, or maybe this is just one big staged event to further divide the country. And it's kind of like we're watching WWE, The Rock versus Stone Cold, and it's all just one big staged event to divide and conquer the U.S. And the Wall Street Journal is reporting that the shooter was not on the radar of authorities prior to yesterday. And the New York Times reports a senior U.S. official saying there are no initial indications that Thomas Matthew Crooks had any ties to domestic or foreign terrorist organizations or was acting on behalf of a foreign power. And the Washington Post reports that Thomas Matthew Crooks worked at a nursing home and that his background check was clean. And what's interesting is BlackRock has now pulled their 2022 advertisement with Thomas Crooks. I showed you guys the video of that yesterday. The shooter was actually in a BlackRock advertisement, okay, which is very strange. And they pulled that advertisement down, maybe because people started to realize how weird that is. And then here we have this clip from the New York Times yesterday. They put this out literally a day after Trump got shot. So they have a picture of Trump here, and it says he failed the tests of leadership and betrayed America. Voters must reject him in November. Absolutely insane. Literally the day after he got shot, they put this out in the New York Times. Absolutely crazy. And Milwaukee's mayor said that the security plan for the Republican National Convention will not be changed following the assassination attempt against Trump. And Biden said yesterday in an Oval Office address that we do not know whether the person who tried to assassinate Trump received help or support. He said, "We believe in peaceful dialogue and decision-making based on the principles of our Constitution. The political discourse in the country has become very heated. The shooting at Trump's campaign rally calls on us to take steps back. When we disagree, we are not enemies, we are neighbors, we are friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we are fellow Americans." So, strong words there from Biden, trying to tell people to simmer down, basically. And CNN is reporting that the phone call between Biden and Trump yesterday was good and short and respectful. So, Biden called Trump. And the person who was killed at the Trump rally was a local fire chief in Pennsylvania and spent his final moments diving in front of his family to protect them from gunfire that rang out Saturday during the assassination attempt against the former president. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro confirmed Sunday that Corey Comperator, age 50, died a hero, using his body as a shield to protect both his wife and daughter from the bullets. Corey was a girl dad. Corey was a firefighter. Corey went to church every Sunday. Corey loved his community. Most especially, Corey loved his family, said Shapiro. Shapiro said he has directed flags to be flown at half-staff in Comperator's memory. And here's a picture of his uniform at the local firehouse. I think this is right near Butler. This was Buffalo Township. So, very sad situation. Here's a picture of this guy. He was a father, fire chief. I mean, absolutely insane. Really sad situation. Pray for his family. And Trump posted this yesterday on his social media platform, Truth Social. He wrote, "Based on yesterday's terrible events, I was going to delay my trip to Wisconsin and the Republican National Convention by 2 days, but have just decided that I cannot allow a shooter or potential assassin to force change to scheduling or anything else. Therefore, I will be leaving for Milwaukee as scheduled at 3:30 p.m. today. Thank you." Wow, very interesting. And here's a screenshot showing Thomas Crooks' parents, both licensed professional counselors in social work. Okay, Mary Elizabeth Crooks and Matthew Brian Crooks, both professional counselors. Here's their license numbers. Both of them had their licenses issued in 2002, so they've been licensed counselors for many, many years, over 20 years. Absolutely insane. And 2 attendees at yesterday's Trump rally who were shot during the attempted assassination are reported to now be in stable condition at a nearby hospital. And the Kremlin said they did not believe that the Biden administration was behind the assassination attempt on Trump. And former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev said on Twitter about Trump, quote, "Now he's already won if he isn't assassinated." So a lot of people are basically saying that Trump's popularity is going to skyrocket now after this. And Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau spoke with Trump yesterday. And the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer also had a phone call with Trump. And we have some major breaking news coming in from NATO. So the leader of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, reiterated in an interview yesterday that Ukraine has the right under international law to attack military targets located in Russian territory. He said this during an interview on the United News telethon on July 14th. In the interview, Stoltenberg affirmed Ukraine's right to self-defense. He said, quote, "My position is that there is no doubt that Ukraine has the right to attack legitimate military targets on the territory of the aggressor country, Russia. This is clearly defined by international law since this is a war that Russia started against Ukraine. Ukraine has the right to self-defense, and this includes strikes on the territory of the aggressor. This is absolutely clear to me." Okay, so he said this like several times. He said it at the NATO summit, and he's reiterating it again. We've had a lot of mixed signals coming from the big Western powers about whether or not they're going to allow Ukraine to use their weapons inside of Russian territory, but I do believe that they are currently allowing Ukraine to strike inside of Russian territory, not just in cross-border situations like the Biden administration said. I do think that they are going to allow Ukraine to use all of NATO's weapons inside of Russian territory. And the reason why is that's really the only way that Ukraine has a chance, because Russia has so many men and so much equipment that they can just continue to move to the front lines. And if Ukraine tries to fight them in an attrition war, they're not going to win, okay? Because Russia is much larger than Ukraine, so they need to think of other ways to try to beat Russia. And that would be one way to beat Russia, would be deep strikes with precision weapons, NATO weapons. And this could potentially escalate the whole situation. So, you know, if NATO weapons are going to start being used in large amounts on Russian territory in the coming months, which is what I suspect is going to happen, I think Russia is going to potentially try to nuke Ukraine or do something crazy like blow the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. And apparently documents containing sensitive information about F-35 and F-15 fighter jets and other advanced weapons systems have been leaked online. A Telegram user claiming to be a Russian pilot named Ivan Ivanov, operating under the handle Fighter Bomber, announced the acquisition of 250 gigabytes of U.S. military data from an American company. The leaked documents include manuals, maintenance information, and technical specs for the F-35, F-15, Switchblade drones, and precision-guided munitions like the JDAM. But analysts are questioning the usefulness of the leaked information, which could imply some doubt about its authenticity or significance. The Pentagon has dismissed the leaked information as false, but has not provided a detailed response. Okay, so very bad news. Looks like the Russians got a hold of some secret documents related to our fighter jets and precision munitions. Very, very bad. And throughout this whole war against Ukraine, Russia has really learned a lot about NATO weapons and American weapons. They've had a chance to go up against our M1 Abrams, our Bradleys, soon our F-16s. I mean, we're basically revealing our hand, our cards to Russia in Ukraine, and they're learning about what our equipment is capable of, and that's how they're preparing for this war against NATO. Okay, they're allowing NATO to send all this equipment to Ukraine, and Russia's learning about how that equipment works, and they're adjusting their tactics and strategies based on their experiences in Ukraine. And warships of the Chinese and Russian militaries held their 4th joint maritime patrol in the western and northern Pacific Ocean, according to the Chinese Ministry of Defense. And we know that China sent several warships up to Alaska, into the Alaskan Exclusive Economic Zone. And a Russian military transport plane brought 400 or more soldiers or agents to Belarus in one single flight. This was confirmed via a flight tracker. And what you're looking at here is some video footage allegedly from the Baltic Sea showing NATO warships escorting a Russian submarine. There's the Russian sub right there. And then here are the NATO warships. So the situation in the Baltic Sea is really, really tense. Okay, there's the submarine right there. Okay, so NATO's going to be deploying mines into the Baltic Sea soon. And Russia has been sending subs into the Baltic Sea. Here's the flight path of that Russian military cargo plane that may have transported hundreds of troops to a military base outside of Minsk over the weekend. And here we have an RQ-4 Global Hawk that was flying over northern Poland over the weekend. This was yesterday, so we have an RQ-4 up in the air today over Poland. And then yesterday we had one in the same area as well, so this is very, very concerning. And we had more reconnaissance over Poland and the Baltics yesterday. This was last night. Here's a Swedish reconnaissance plane patrolling the eastern and northern part of Poland. A Netherlands reconnaissance plane flying around Kaliningrad. And then this private reconnaissance plane flying in Latvia. And then we also had a Finnish reconnaissance plane patrolling the border of Estonia and Russia. And then we also had this Spanish Air Force reconnaissance plane looping in Latvia. So lots of reconnaissance here in the Baltics. And yesterday, 15 Ukrainian drones were allegedly shot down over the Bryansk Oblast in Russia. The local governor there reported. And a Ukrainian drone hit an energy substation in the Lipetsk Oblast in Russia. The drone hit the territory of an electrical substation in the Stanov-Lyansky Municipal District. Lipetsk Oblast Governor Igor Artamanov said on July 15th, and there were also explosions heard in Odessa in the early hours of July 15th. And apparently the battlefield situation is really tense in eastern Ukraine near Toretsk and Pokrovsk, according to the Ukrainian General Staff. The General Staff reported that the hottest situation currently lies in Pokrovsk, where Russian forces attacked Ukrainian positions 35 times yesterday. And I want to update you guys on the situation in the Middle East. Things are really escalating over there. American officials have begun preparing a plan to evacuate American citizens from Lebanon, according to Al Arabiya. And the Israeli-Hamas ceasefire deal has apparently collapsed. Egyptian negotiators working to create the ceasefire say the peace talks have been suspended. And there were Israeli airstrikes on Damascus last night. And we're hearing that the Israeli airstrikes may have killed Syrian businessman Mohammed al-Qatarji, who was a close friend of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. And apparently he was responsible for funding Hezbollah and Iranian proxies. We're also hearing unconfirmed reports that Israel may have killed the commander of Hamas's military wing, Mohammed Def, in an airstrike. It's unconfirmed at this moment. Turkish fighter jets have been bombing Kurdish positions in northern Iraq over the weekend. And the Turkish Foreign Ministry and Saudi prince agreed to normalize relations with Syria, Iran, and Russia. Wow. So Saudi Arabia aligning itself with Syria, Iran, and Russia. Very bad. And the Houthis launched an attack on American warships in the Red Sea, and there are reports of a serious conflict between the Houthis and the Americans in the area. And the U.S. Central Command is claiming that they shot down 2 Houthi aerial drones over the Red Sea and one maritime drone in the Red Sea. So the Houthis are continuing to attack American forces. We know that the USS Teddy Roosevelt aircraft carrier strike group just arrived to the Middle East. So potentially soon we could see something happen between Israel and Hezbollah. Now Netanyahu is going to be making a speech to Congress soon, I think in the coming days. So I don't think we're going to see anything happen until after he gives his speech to Congress. So I think the timeline on the Israel-Hezbollah war is going to get pushed back to August or maybe even September. We'll have to wait and see. And Sunspot Group AR-3738 just erupted yesterday, producing an X-1.2 class flare, but it did not produce a CME. But that's still a sign that the sun is very active. We currently have several sunspots that are Earth-facing. And SpaceX announced that 20 satellites launched from a Falcon 9 rocket in California will crash back to Earth due to a malfunction. The second stage of the rocket experienced a liquid oxygen leak, preventing the Merlin vacuum engine from completing its second burn. And we also have reports of an elephant seal in Antarctica that contracted the bird flu. So that is absolutely insane. And this comes just a day after 3 people tested positive for bird flu in Colorado. So that is very, very serious, guys. And the timing of this is very strange considering we have this election coming up, the most critical election in the history of the U.S. And then plus we have all these wars going on around the world, and then now the bird flu. You know, it's like the perfect storm, basically. So imagine like all these war fronts erupt at the same time, and then at the same time we have a bird flu outbreak, which could be as bad or worse than COVID. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back later on tonight with more breaking news, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon down below so you get notified when I post these updates. Also consider following me on Telegram and Twitter. I post all my updates over there. And don't rely on the notifications from YouTube also. Even if you have them set up, periodically check my channel to make sure you didn't miss an update, because sometimes those notifications don't go out. But until later on, have a good afternoon. Take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. Guys, countless people are mistaking private browsing tabs as a way to stay anonymous online. Even with private browsing mode enabled, you can still be tracked by websites and internet service providers. Also, your data is still at risk if you are using unsecured or public Wi-Fi hotspots. That's why I've been protecting my privacy and data with Virtual Shield VPN. I sleep well at night knowing that my data and privacy is not exposed to governments, hackers, and big tech. And if you use the link in the description below this video, which is virtualshield.com/deals/NYPrepper, you can get 70% off and a 60-day risk-free trial. With Virtual Shield's anonymous browsing, a strict no-log policy, unlimited bandwidth, and built-in malware and ad blocking, Virtual Shield also has 24/7 customer support and was built in the USA. So start protecting yourself today. Use the link in the description, which is virtualshield.com/deals/NYPrepper to get 70% off and a 60-day risk-free trial.